requested video topics, and I'm thrilled to finally be able to look at his full story with all of you, having a strong liking of the creature myself. So let's not waste another moment and launch into some monstrous fun on today's episode of The Toku Professor. Hi students! I did say let's not waste another moment, right? Okay, so why aren't we getting started? Oh, alright, I'm the one controlling what shows up on your screens. Let's begin class by looking at Dorako's behind-the-scenes history. Dorako was seemingly dreamed up by Bunzo Wakatsuki, the writer of his debut episode, Mystery Comet Suifon, which Suifon, by the way, is the name of the comet Dorako originates from. Apparently, Bunzo originally had Dorako's name as Red Dorako in the script, but the red was dropped at some point, and all that remained was Dorako, or Draco. However you prefer to port the word from Japanese to English. It just basically means dragon-like. Fans of the channel might be able to guess who got to design how Dorako would look in the show. It's the same guy who designed basically all the other Ultra Kaiju during Tsuburaya Productions' early years. If you guessed Tolnorita, you are correct. Apparently, the initial design he drew up for the creature looked like a grasshopper, but this first version was rejected and replaced by this design, though Dorako's wings and the spikes on the back of his legs are said to be remnants from the initial grasshopper version of the kaiju. This revised design for the monster is supposedly based on the giant dragonfly, but it also looks a bit dinosaurish. He's basically a dragonfly dragon. The name Dorako actually fits this look for the creature pretty well. However, not even this was the final design for the monster. Upon close inspection of this picture, which is really a cool piece of art by the way, you may notice that Dorako only has one hook claw, and something's up with the creature's hand. Do you know what that is? It's a cookie, just for you. No, just kidding. According to one of my sources, what that actually is a whip, coiled up into a disc shape, which may have been referencing a type of traditional Japanese sickle weapon called a kusarigama, with his one hook arm being the blade and the circular part being the curled up chain. This was even present on the suit for the monster at first, which was crafted by Ryosaku Takayama. Here's a picture of the costume while it was still under construction. Very cool. And here it is once it was completed. Note the coiled whip hand like in Tolnorita's artwork. There are actually several pictures of Dorako with this unusual appendage, including this one that just has Jamila sitting around in the background all bent out of shape. Poor guy. He's the one who really needs a cookie. But anyway, yes, for some reason, after these pics were taken, Tsuburaya Productions decided to swap out the whip arm for another arm with a hook. But I believe some of these pictures had actually been taken for merchandise companies to use as a reference, so unsurprisingly, there are vintage Dorako toys out there that feature this discarded hand design. But we'll get into toys later. Something that's hard to notice in the show itself, but apparent in these pictures, is how amazing looking the original Dorako's wings are, transparent with all these intricate designs. I also noticed that Dorako was edited into this picture depicting him in a rocky area in front of a blue sky backdrop. You can tell because you can see the lines on this wall and Dorako's shadow on the wall through his wings. Now you'll never be able to unsee it. Fumio Ikeda was the one who got to wear the original Dorako suit and battle it out against Minami Akirai as Gigas and Kunio Suzuki as Red King II. A 2-foot-long model of the monster in flight was also built, and this mini Dorako's wings were reportedly based on the wing-like fins of a flying fish. Last thing to mention before we can check out Dorako's role in the episode is his roar in the episode, which was reused for all subsequent appearances in the main series. Here's what it sounds like. It's said that Dorako's cries are a modified version of the sounds Ebirah makes from the Godzilla film Ebirah Horror of the Deep. Okay, that's all I've got on behind-the-scenes stuff for now, so let's blast like a comet into Dorako's debut episode. This is Suifon, the comet that almost annihilated the Earth, but instead just barely missed our planet and provided the world with a wonderful gift. Namely, Dorako. The monster for some reason decided to abandon his home and soar down to the Japanese Alps. Before the kaiju had a chance to touch down, he spotted the SSSP's jet VTOL and decided to chase it around the sky, even copying the VTOL and performing a loop-de-loop when the team tried to shake him off. However, Hayata soon figured out a way to get Dorako to leave them alone, and after angering the monster Gigas, who they had spotted wandering around earlier, the SSSP led Dorako to the riled-up Yeti monster, and soon a kaiju fight broke out, providing the humans with a chance to escape. Gigas barreled Dorako over with a ram, but the winged monster was soon back on his feet, and after grappling with Gigas, whacked him with hook claws, causing sparks to fly. Gigas responded by throwing snow in Dorako's face, and tried to ram the dragonfly monster again, but Dorako was able to vault over the Yeti this time. After this last shot, the episode cut away from the fight until after the SSSP found the bombs, and Red King, the monster that had swallowed them. By the way, I covered the complete history of Red King in a bio like this one earlier this year. If you're interested in learning more about this guy, be sure to check out that hour-and-a-half long documentary. Anyway, Red King decided to get in on the action, and Dorako, upon seeing this, decided to try and take advantage of Red King joining the brawl to tip the scales in his favor. When Red King began roaring at Gigas, Dorako pushed the newcomer into the Yeti from behind, either to just get a hit in or to try and get the other two to fight each other. Red King did indeed give Gigas a small whack, but then retaliated at Dorako. The space kaiju was able to leap away though. So, Red King just tried again, and this time was able to grab his winged opponent before he could fly away, and ripped both of poor Dorako's wings off. You really should have thought twice before you shoved the skull monster, Dorako. Gigas was, of course, delighted by this development, and decided to get in on the humiliation of Dorako as well, as Red King, who for some reason was now supporting Gigas, cheered the Yeti on from the sidelines. Things really looked bad for Dorako, until he was able to land a blow on Gigas' face, knocking his opponent back, which made Red King frustrated, and forced the King of Corn to return to the ring. He and Dorako got into a bit of a boxing match before the show cut away from the fight. But don't get your hopes up for Dorako, because once the episode returned to the battle, the now wingless monster had somehow collapsed on the ground, and moments later his opponent had him in a tail lock. Then, Red King and Gigas decided to team up and simultaneously slam the space creature from both sides. Luckily for Dorako, he was able to fall aside and avoid the blow. Unluckily for Dorako, though, he was now dead? Really? Had the monster just anticlimactically died from his injuries? Well, yes, that does seem to be the case. Dorako was only shown in one more scene, motionless on the ground, and then that was it. He wasn't shown again in the episode, and his debut ended very abruptly. I guess maybe he could have escaped, which would explain why he couldn't be spotted in any more scenes, but based on his second appearance, which we will now look at, I think we basically have to assume he died in the Japanese Alps. And why do we have to assume that? Because in episode 37 of Ultraman, he gets revived. Dorako almost never got a second chance in Ultraman, and if he hadn't, who knows if any later productions would have featured him. But not only was he brought back for one of the Ultraman series' best episodes, by returning, he also ended up getting to triumph over one of the monsters that beat him up in episode 25, namely Red King. You may have noticed that the Red King costume sort of looked like it was falling apart in Mystery Comet Suifan. Well, it was. And because of this, even though the Skull Monster was scheduled to make one last appearance before the series concluded, Subaraya Productions decided they just couldn't use the same suit again, and pulled a different monster out of their warehouse to take over Red King's role in episode 47. And that kaiju was Dorako. Before filming began, several alterations were made to the Dorako costume. For some reason, they didn't give the kaiju his wings back. My guess as to why is that they were either fragile and hard to work with, or they had been damaged. But what's even more baffling to me than the decision to leave Dorako wingless is the fact that Kunio Suzuki, a suit actor, not a suit designer as far as I know, decided to pluck 4 horns off the suit of Imola from Kaiju Buska, a different Subaraya Productions show, and stick them all on Dorako's head, and then someone replaced his hook claws with normal hands. I mean, what was the point of all that? Maybe his claws and the top of his head were damaged? I wish I knew. Toll Narita didn't draw up a design for this slightly redesigned kaiju, now called Re-Dorako, but he did apparently give the costume team some instructions on what updates to make, so I guess both he and Kunio Suzuki were responsible for the weird additions and removals. A source says Re-Dorako is also a bit darker colored than the original Dorako, so it could have gotten a coat of paint between appearances. Eiichi Matsushima replaced Fumio Ikeda as the kaiju suit actor this time around. Okay, time to get back to covering Dorako's history from an in-universe perspective. Geronimon, the chief of the monsters, wanted to get revenge on Ultraman and the SSSP for destroying so many of his monster subjects, so he began reviving kaiju the SSSP had destroyed, beginning with Pigmon, which wasn't a smart first choice, but then following it up with our subject for today, Dorako, as well as Telestan, who, fun fact, was also originally not going to be in the episode. It would have been Gamora instead. I've got history videos of Geronimon, Pigmon, and Gamora on this channel, so if you would like to learn more about any of these monsters, be sure to check them out. Anyway, Dorako and Telestan didn't go out and start attacking the SSSP base or anything once they were revived, as I assume Geronimon wanted, but instead immediately began fighting each other in the dark. Telestan had the advantage at first and bit down on Dorako's arm, but by the time the episode cut away from the battle, both monsters seemed exhausted. When the SSSP was guided to the area the following day by Pigmon, the two were no longer fighting each other. Perhaps they had formed an alliance and camped out on the rocks for the night. With the knowledge that many more kaiju would be revived soon to form a monster army, the SSSP headed out on foot to try and quickly take out these first two threats. Hayata and Ide took on Dorako, and after he wandered by, the two of them fired at him from behind, angering the monster so much he smashed a pile of rocks. However, he wasn't able to locate his two attackers, and began wandering away again, allowing Hayata another chance to hit him in the exact same spot, causing the space kaiju to bleed. This time, Dorako spotted Ide, who hadn't shot this last time because he was just waiting around for Ultraman to show up. But Dorako was nonetheless determined to destroy him, thinking he was responsible. Desperate for Ultraman to save the day, Ide didn't move, and was almost crushed by Dorako, who raised his arm to slap him. But then Pigmon showed up and distracted Dorako by jumping about and making a bunch of screaming noises. This annoyed Dorako badly, who rubbed his face in frustration, roared, and then did this.
That gets me every time.
Yeah, me too.
It's always interesting to see how people react to this scene. You may notice that right here, Dorako was behaving basically the same as Red King would. First rubbing his face as the Skull Monster does all the time, and then killing Pigmon, just like Red King did in the Lawless Monster Zone. I wonder if they even altered the script at all once Dorako replaced Red King, or if they just had him do the exact same stuff. Also, I'm curious if it was because of this scene where he wipes out Pigmon that they gave Dorako normal hands. Interesting stuff to think about. Upon witnessing Pigmon's death, Hayata reprimanded his teammate for not fighting back against Dorako, which gave Ide the motivation he needed to retaliate. However, Dorako kicked a shower of rocks in his direction, forcing Ide back. Furious, the SSSP member decided to whip out a new invention he'd recently built called the Spark 8, which worked so well, not even a piece of Dorako was left. Wow. So what was next on the agenda for Dorako after this unplanned, at least at first, return? Well, unfortunately for him, Dorako was one of the many monsters affected by the Curse of Redman. Redman is a 1972 series that went sort of viral a few years ago, which is rather similar to the low-budget show Ultra Fight, about a hero who, for some reason, attacks all these apparently human-sized Ultraman monsters with really low-quality suits in remote outdoor locations. Dorako was one of the monsters Redman took on, in 11 different episodes. He could be a dangerous opponent, but was of course always defeated in the end. It seems he had 2 different suits in the series, both based on Re-Dorako, except the latter one gave him his hook-shaped claws back. Both of these were reportedly repurposed stage show costumes. Okay, enough with this low-quality stuff. Let's return to the main series and jump to the early 90s, and look at Dorako's next major appearance that occurred in a little show called Ultraman. The Ultimate Hero. How come it feels like I have to talk about this show every single time? Well, here goes nothing, I guess. At least we know we have a cool-looking suit to look forward to. Oh. Well, yeah, that's pretty cool, but is it just me, or does this guy, called Powered Dorako, not really look like Dorako? Why did you make him this color, Mahiro Maeda? Oh, okay, I see. I guess in the concept art he was originally going to be normal colored, and the reddish color was a later addition. Surprisingly, this color supposedly wasn't chosen to reference Red Dorako, the kaiju's original name, but instead apparently Powered Dorako was supposed to be mimicking the actually red Red King he fights in this show. Very interesting, though he looks more pink than red to me. Since Dorako is based on a dragonfly, Mahiro Maeda added some more insect-like stuff to this iteration of the monster. Traditional Japanese clothing was also worked into the design for some reason, despite The Ultimate Hero being a show for Americans. His wings were changed too. Artist Mahiro Maeda really went with something very different here. One of these people wore the finished suit based on Maeda's design, which was most likely crafted by Kevin Hudson. Most Ultraman the Ultimate Hero episodes were at least a little bit based off of the events of an episode from the original Ultraman, but other than featuring Red King, Dorako's episode, written by King Wilder, was nearly completely different from any of his previous appearances. Let's see what happened in Falling Stars Spell Trouble. Powered Dorako comes from space just like normal Dorako, but this iteration was a weapon of the Baltans. Yeah, remember when Alien Baltan used to be important to the Ultra series? He came to Earth in a cocoon thing, and as soon as Winter learned of it, they decided to take it out before any monster could emerge from it. Well, they weren't fast enough because Powered Dorako made his way out before they got there, and was immediately confronted by a male-powered Red King, who didn't really seem to pose much of a threat to the space kaiju. I have to wonder if Dorako was laughing here. Powered Red King stumbled to his feet and decided to try again, but Dorako responded by extending one of his claws and brutally attacking his opponent with one of the few moves from this series that really looks like it could do some damage. Powered Red King fell to the ground motionless, and Dorako extended his wings in triumph. I have to give this infamous show credit here. Dorako really does look pretty imposing in this shot. Winter began analyzing the kaiju without attacking it at first, until the creature began making his way back to the cocoon he'd come from. Protagonist Kai, meanwhile, was in that same vicinity trying to pick a sample off the ground, and taking a long time. Sanders tried firing at the monster to buy Kai some time, but none of the shots did anything at all. It was determined that Dorako had a totally bioreflective exoskeleton. But that should be impossible. So they decided to just go ahead and pull Kai back up out of danger. But the line broke and he was stranded on the ground with the monster. No big deal. Ultraman Powered rushed in to battle Powered Dorako, and was immediately punched to the ground. Dorako then whipped out his claw and chucked it at his new foe. The attack missed, but the monster quite literally had more tricks up its sleeve. But those also didn't work. It was the Ultra Hero's turn next. He missed a kick, but was able to land this energy blast attack. However, this did not produce a desired effect. It just made Dorako start yelling really loud, which hurt everyone's ears. The yell was actually a signal that traveled all the way through space to Powered Zeton, causing this monster to begin glowing. According to one source, Dorako was sending Zeton data on Ultraman Powered here. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the fight continued. Ultraman Powered dodged several strikes from another Dorako blade, and pushed the space creature away, and then tried to hit him with his Mega Spacium beam. But taking a page out of the original Zeton's book, Powered Dorako just reflected the move back at the Ultra, causing him to crumple to the ground. With no energy left, Powered was forced to retreat. Wow, Dorako was able to beat an Ultra on his first try. Not only that, this iteration was immune to energy attacks and missiles. Pretty OP. Luckily, the Captain of Winter had a plan to take it down. All they had to do was master Powered Dorako the video game. Check out these state-of-the-art 3D graphics. Only for serious gamers. Play this radical game and learn how to penetrate the armor of the most powerful creature ever by hitting it 6 times in the same spot. Powered Dorako the video game by Winter. Winter does what Nintendo don't. What was that? Having become master gamers, the Winter team set out to hit Dorako 6 times in the same spot before he could destroy this city. Only problem was, the chances of this plan failing were about 500 to 1. The shooting got off to a great start though, thanks to the accuracy of Sanders, but Dorako threw another one of his endless claw blades at the Winter ship and sent it crashing into the ground. Then the creature was able to dodge the next shot. The plan was ruined. So it was time for Ultra vs. Monster Round 2. Powered flew into the city, and for some reason started out with an energy attack, despite the fact it had already been established Dorako was basically immune to those. Maybe he was aiming for the weak spot in Dorako's exoskeleton Winter had created? Not sure. The Ultra dodged more of the monster's swipes, but then took a direct blow which injured him really badly. Powered staggered, but the weakened Ultra was then able to land an attack with his Mega Spacium beam in just the right weakened spot, and finally eliminate this super powerful monster. But that wound on Powered's chest was pretty bad, and would be worked into the plot of the next episode, meaning Dorako left a lasting impression. I'd say Dorako is definitely one of the better monsters in this show, and this was one of the Ultimate Hero's better episodes. Still nowhere near perfect, though. Let's jump to the Ultra Galaxy era now. By the turn of the century, normal Dorako had not been featured in the main series ever since his debut show over 30 years before, but he would make his grand return in the kaiju-focused show Ultra Galaxy Mega Monster Battle Never-Ending Odyssey, which aired from 2008 to 2009. Dorako appeared in 2 different episodes, one written by Kenichi Araki and one by Keiichi Hasegawa. with a brand new suit based on his original design. He was also featured in some of the show's theme song clips. Hiroshi Suenaga was Dorako's suit actor for both of these appearances. Let's jump back in universe and check out both of them, starting with episode 2 of the series. After getting stranded on Planet Hammer, the protagonist Ray and his boss were suddenly attacked by a dorako, later revealed to belong to an alien Hook, who touched down close to their ship. Ray wasted no time in...
Let me guess, don't tell me he used a Gamora card!
Okay, I won't, because he didn't.
What? Oh.
He whipped out this Eleking card and summoned his Eleking to battle Dorako. The fight started with some jabs from both kaiju and many other really fast melee strikes. Eleking then tried to ram Dorako, but as we know from when Red King tried this, that doesn't always work on Dorako. The dark blue monster was able to hit Eleking with several powerful slashes, but the creature lost his momentum after being pummeled by a bunch of wyvern missiles. Eleking got several good strikes in, and Dorako decided to fall back and fly away, but Eleking grabbed him by the feet. And just like the last time this happened to Dorako, he couldn't get away, and got his wings ripped off, as this sinister music began playing, even though Eleking was supposed to be the good monster here. The wingless kaiju began getting walloped really badly, and was unable to fight back. Eleking was easily able to finish the fight with a blast of electricity, and Dorako took the L. But Dorako may not have been as dead as he seemed, because in episode 10 of the same show, the alien Hook called on Dorako for a battle yet again, except this time it was Re-Dorako. So rather than being killed, I guess the loss just somehow transformed him into his wingless, hook-clawless, horn-headed form. Any guesses who the kaiju's opponent was? If you guessed Teleston, the first monster Re-Dorako ever fought, you'd be correct. Is it just me or does this feel like a callback? The Teleston, belonging to an alien Zeton, began the match with this twisting attack, which didn't do all that much. Dorako was able to catch a kick from Teleston and flip his foe, before hurling him away. Teleston countered with a strong slam and tried to flatten Dorako, but the strong comet monster just picked the subterranean kaiju up and prepared to toss him on the ground, I assume. But then suddenly the battle was abruptly interrupted by a King Joe Black, who instantly blew up both of the two battling monsters. Rats, Dorako was winning! That was rude of you, King Joe. Now we get to check out Dorako's only ever non-stock footage movie appearance. The creature was featured in Mega Monster Battle Ultra Galaxy Legends the movie, both as one of the many kaiju that made up the jumbo-sized monster Belyudra, and also as a member of a monster trio that attacked Rei and Mirai in the Land of Light. The same suit from Yuji MMB Neo was used again for this film, but with a modified head. To my knowledge, the exact suit actor that played Dorako this time hasn't been identified. Let's check out Dorako's antics on the big screen. A Dorako, Bimstar, and Saramandora were seemingly sent out to ambush Mirai and Rei by an alien Shapley. Remember this guy, students?
Of course you do.
What?
Thanks so much for covering another one of my monsters, Professor.
Oh no. How'd you get in here? We have a security robot.
Oh, I let him in because he paid me off with a swirly cookie.
But you can't even eat, Rigolo. You're a robot.
Oh, fiddlesticks. Sorry, sir, but I guess I have to end your visit.
No prob. You do you. See you soon, Prof.
Yeah, you too. Hopefully not ever. Anyway, Dorako was the first of the kaiju trio to attack, and his intro was really cinematic and cool in my opinion. Rei shot first, and then immediately afterward, Dorako unleashed a blast of fire, for the first time ever on screen, which knocked Rei and Mirai down a steep icy hill, and then Dorako landed beside his teammates after they got their introductions. Rei decided to fight the trio using his own monsters, but he dropped his Neo Battlenizer and tried to retrieve it, while Dorako and his buddies did basically nothing for some reason. That's gonna get you in trouble, guys. You won't be able to complete your mission. Look, see? You're getting interrupted. Dan Moroboshi arrived and let out all three of his main capsule monsters to take on the three villainous monsters. Our good friend Agira, who we covered recently, was the one who selected Dorako as his opponent, and he whacked the kaiju vigorously. Dorako was shown fighting back in one shot, and then when the movie refocused on the two monsters, Dorako grabbed Agira by the head, but the capsule kaiju was somehow able to take advantage of this and fling Dorako a mile high. Agira then leaped into the air and rammed the winged monster, causing Dorako to explode. I don't know why that would make Dorako explode, but it did. Not the monster's best fight, I can certainly say that. Dorako made a guest appearance in the silly Mirror Fight 2012 miniseries released on a special Mirror Man DVD in the second episode. Unfortunately, I don't have this DVD, and I couldn't find the episode online, but at least I do have this picture of Dorako in this miniseries alongside Dorigoras. Then, the kaiju returned to the Ultra series in this Ultraman Ginga Theater special as a live Spark Doll for another battle against his biggest rival, Teleston, and this was the first time the two monsters battled until a victor emerged. Following some strong blows from both sides, Teleston ended up winning the match by beating the Dorako up until Kenta Watarai was forced to pull the creature from the fight. Does that mean Teleston is the strongest? Nah, these were just ultra-lived monsters under the control of humans. I'd say we still haven't settled who's stronger yet. And Dorako's last major appearance as of now, which is actually quite minor, was in episode 18 of Ultraman X, where his suit actor was Shinosuke Ishikawa. In a flashback near the end of the episode, Ultraman X remembered saving a space cat named Mu from a Dorako that was attacking it, seemingly on some other planet. He shoved the Dorako on the ground, and that was that. This was Dorako's last moment appearing physically in any major Ultraman production. This is despite there being a time where it would have made a lot of sense to bring him back, namely in the Ultraman Blazar episode Insurance Hero, which was a tribute to the Mystery Comet Suifon episode. Instead, this tribute episode only brought Red King and Gigas back, and chose to reference Dorako by having this minor kaiju use his roar. My guess as to why Dorako hasn't come back in almost 10 years is because the suit created for Yuji MMB Neo probably wasn't in good enough shape to be used again, and Tsuburaya Productions hasn't felt like spending money on a new one. He was originally planned to appear in Ultraman X the movie as one of 5 Gorg monsters, but 5 was thought to be too many for the film, and it was reduced to 3, with Dorako getting shoved out of the production. He would have fought Ultraman Tiga in his Sky-type form in the air, but Gorg Antlar ended up getting this scene instead. At this point, I've got no idea how long it'll take before Dorako physically returns in a major production, but he seems to be a pretty popular monster, so I'm sure a lot of people will be quite happy whenever he does come back. Okay, minor appearances time. Redman and Mirror Fight 2012 aren't the only non-Ultra series to feature Dorako. He also appeared in the 1970 show Chibira-kun, looking like this. Help me. A source claims the Dragonfly monster is present in the Monster Graveyard both in this Ultraman 80 episode and this Ultraman Mebius episode. I couldn't spot him myself in either of these, but I was able to spot his costume in Tsuburaya's Monster Warehouse that appeared in the final episode of Ultra Fight, which is basically Redman but older. He's shown up in as many as 6 different stage shows and appeared in a picture shown in Ultra Zone. Here are some other works to feature the monster as well. Notably, in the manga called Ultraman Story 0, it seems the author decided to redesign Dorako a little, and gave him flying squirrel-like membranes instead of wings on his back. Also, while this Ultraman anime didn't feature Dorako himself, there's a monster in it heavily based on Dorako, that also originates from the comet Suifon, named, well, Suifon. He has forms both based on Dorako and Re-Dorako. Okay, playtime's over. Time to cover Dorako toys. Oh wait, I guess that means playtime's starting. I'll start this section by showing you the Dorako figures I own myself in my Toku archive. I have an older Ultra Monster series figure of Re-Dorako and a really nice Gashapon normal Dorako figure. I've also got the super rare Dorako Spark Doll, which goes for about $100 right now, so I'm really happy about that. I don't have every version of Dorako. There are several other types of figures such as Bullmark, Finger Puppets with the cookie, X Plus, and more. Normal Ultra Monster series Dorako is pretty rare already, but powered Dorako is even more valuable. He's one of the only UMS kaiju I've never had in my collection or for sale in my eBay store. Keep an eye out for him. Though I don't have a powered Dorako, normal Dorako is currently in stock on my eBay store at the time I am recording this class, as well as hundreds of other Toku figs of all shapes and sizes, except 393 feet and 2-inch figures. If you're specifically looking for that, you've come to the wrong place. Jokes aside, I'd really appreciate it if you check out my eBay store or my Toku Professor merch store. Proceeds support this channel and put smiles on my face. Multiple smiles simultaneously. Don't ask how that works. Links to both stores, as well as to my X, aka Twitter account, are in the description. Also, don't forget to send pictures of this Ultra to my Twitter before we hit 25k subs to perhaps have it featured in my 25k sub special. Now, would someone mind explaining to me why it smells so good in here?
You kept bringing up cookies in class, and our stomachs couldn't handle it anymore, so we made some.
You know that baking during class is against Tokupolis Elementary Protocol, right? But don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Don't mind if I do.
I'm now a certified cookie monster.
The delicious aroma. It's so good you could smell it from space.
I think you may have something there, Professor. A space creature is dashing toward the classroom right now.
What? Who is it?
It's a dark blue and white monster with hook-shaped claws, a beak-shaped mouth, and wings on its back.
It must be
Gaigan, of course.
Oh.
Huh? Why is everyone so disappointed?
Forgot to mention this, students. In 1972, Toho came out with a monster pretty similar to dorako, Gaigan. Pretty sure their close likeness was just a coincidence, but yeah, similarities do exist between them.
I wasn't expecting this kind of reception.
oh, sorry. Cockroach cookie?
Ah, that's more like it.